Yeah. Oh, okay.
Drop
Yeah.
a JPEG in here.
Okay.
Turn on your airdrops. You get it out for everyone. You gotta change your settings so
They're
everyone
on the note as a beneficiary,
send it
right?
to everybody.
Yep. Just these little things I never deal with. I think that's it.
Turn on your airdrops. Okay, I gotta see Stacy.
You can only get a late fee, and that's 10% of the loan, the loan, right? I mean, not the loan amount, but the monthly payment.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. What is it?
764-886.
764-866.
But even after 10 days, they don't take part of that, do they?
Okay. I'll try it. 764-886. Cool.
There you go. Thank you.
Yeah, of course.
So if the payment's
turn on your
$3,000, then what will the late fee be on that roughly, and how much would? Yeah, 10%. So it'd be $300, right? No, I know, $300.
All right, Slim, I need a code.
Okay. No.
Oh, is that you? Who's Slim?
Yeah.
What is it?
Okay.
I'm airdropping stuff.
I gotta go.
906?
906 910.
Is it bad?
Cool.
Am I there?
I don't see you. Let me see. I see Anthony.
Yeah. I think,
Christian. Zachary.
Okay. I gotta go. Bye.
Stacy. Christian. Let's see. Did you get it?
How do you even get that?
All right, turn on your airdrops. I'm dropping.
No?
Let me see. I'll just text it to you.
Yeah, please.
All right. Let's talk about it real quick.
Where should I sit?
Everyone got it?
Sit right after now, I guess.
Vanessa, you can hand it out. I texted it to you guys this morning. All right.
Gotta get in.
Let's get started. There's some people getting their coffees, but we'll just get started right now. So what you guys have in your pocket is, or on your phone, is, we compare this every month. What's going on year to date between silver, gold, S&P 500, Bitcoin, and San Diego real estate. So the clear winner so far this year is silver, and it's up 20% from January 1st to today. So if you bought $100,000 worth of silver at the beginning of the year, today it'd be worth $120,000. So a great investment, that's winning. And then you notice that gold is up 9%. So gold is up if you would have done that. And then the S&P 500 is up 8%, which is great. I mean, that's a big deal. San Diego real estate, 3%, it's up. So that's really good. That's surprising too. And then Bitcoin, minus 19%. So, to me, I mean, S&P 500 is very surprising, the stock market, because of everything that's going on in the world. It's like, how is that happening? How are stocks continuing to go up? How is the S&P 500 going up? San Diego real estate's up 3%. It doesn't seem that way because the deal flows are slow, or, deal flows have been not great, but prices are going up. We started the year at 902,500, the median, and right now we're at 930,000. So that's a 3% increase. So whoever owns real estate, that's a plus, whether it's your primary residence or it's an investment property. And there's some seats right here, guys. If you guys want to just take some seats, we could just whoever owns gas, petroleum companies. Yeah. So if you guys turn on your airdrops, I could airdrop this to y'all, or Vanessa could airdrop it. If you guys turn on your airdrops, maybe Vanessa and Raul could airdrop this thing that we have right here that we're looking at, this JPEG. Want me to text it to you, John? I'll text it to John, Android user. If you're an Android user.
Hey, we're up 50%.
So why is this important? Why are we talking about, like, by the way, today's topic, it's going to be private money. We'll start that in a bit. But why is this important to be talking about, you know, the S&P 500, gold, silver, San Diego real estate, Bitcoin? Because it's important to invest your money in different things. And a lot of times, I don't even think we really like dive into why we're not invested in things. We don't dive into, hey, how come, you know, I keep coming to Coffee and Cash, I keep talking to people about investments, but I still don't do it. Why is that? Like, do we ever ask ourselves those questions? And I don't think a lot of us really dive deep and really think about why we don't invest in different assets, whether it's S&P 500 or real estate or gold or whatever, even though we've had great speakers, right? Like, for example, we've had John, who owns 4 gold stores and silver stores. He's spoken here, I think, 3 times, and he's educated us on these topics. And a couple of us who did invest, you know, when gold was $2,200 an ounce, and now it's $4,500 an ounce, like, we doubled our money, right? Same thing with silver. When it was, I think when John first came to Coffee and Cash, silver was like 25 bucks an ounce. Right now it's at like 85 bucks an ounce. So that's quadrupled money, right? So, but why not? Well, why don't people invest? I know for myself, I'll tell you my story. I remember working at a commercial real estate office in La Jolla in 2009, and some other guys that were my age came to me and they go, hey, Voltaire, you know, maybe I went to their desk, I don't know, but they seemed excited. And I go, what's going on? And they go, man, there's this company, they just invented like an X-ray, like a portable X-ray. So you could just, you know, doctors are gonna be able to X-ray you just portably. And I go, oh man, and they go, yeah man, you know, this company, they just invented it, their stock's been going up. And I go, oh, for real? Like how much is their stock? And it was like $1 or something like that. And they're like, you should invest, man, we're all, you know, gonna make money on this. And I go, cool. You know, and the guys were like my age, you know, nobody had money, right? But we're talking about this. And I remember I put $2,000, like, okay, I opened up a TD Ameritrade account. I put $2,000 in it. I bought, you know, $2,000 worth of stock, which was a lot of shares because they're like $1 a piece or they're cheap. And now I know they're considered penny stocks. And so I bought all these stocks, and then for some reason, it just happened to be, as soon as I bought it, it started to go down. And it kept going down, and I go, you know what, I'm just gonna ride this thing out, and I did. And then next thing you know, a few months later, I get this letter in the mail, and it says that the bankruptcy court is, you know, reviewing this company because they're going into bankruptcy. And I'm like, and at that point, it went from like whatever I bought it for $1 or, you know, it was like worth a penny, 2 pennies a share. And I'm just like, I still got a shot. I'm just gonna hold on to this thing. Instead of cashing it out for by $10 or $20, whatever they're gonna give me, you know? And so anyways, again, this is me kind of wondering why I didn't invest in stocks earlier. And I go back to that story of, you know, a bunch of kids in an office, you know, trying to hit the lotto, basically. We're trying to just make something out of nothing, just become rich overnight. So after that, the next time I remember being invited to invest into stocks, I used to run across this guy. We had a mailbox next to each other in La Jolla, and he was a young stockbroker, And I would always run across him, and we would chat, and he said that he's in stocks, and I was in real estate, and he says, hey, you should come into my office, and we should talk about this. And I go, oh, okay. And he's telling me that he works for Merrill Lynch, and he's a stockbroker. And I go, I invest in real estate. I invest in real estate, and that's when I first started buying like my first couple of houses, and he invited me, but it was just casual invite. It wasn't like nothing, like no pressure or nothing, right? And this is like, it was still, we're in the recession, and I said no, and I think he invited me maybe twice at the most, and that was kind of it. And I would still see him, but then he stopped inviting me, never invited me again. And looking back now, I wish he would have been more pushy. I wish he would have kept inviting me and was aggressive about it, maybe, and educational, but he didn't do that. And I missed out big time because, that was a great time to buy stocks, But again, I didn't know it at the time, but I was already like scarred by that $2,000 loss by buying penny stocks, because I didn't know what I was doing, because the guys in my office, they weren't professionals and they didn't have any money. Whereas, this guy that was inviting me, he was a professional. He works for a big firm and all that. So, and then the time after that, the next time was, before COVID, a couple years before COVID, I met this guy. You guys all heard this story, right? Where I'm dealing with some clients that own a lot of real estate, and then they introduced me to their financial advisor, and we did a CRT, charitable remainder trust. So we sold some property to cash out and put it into the stock market. And then after that was, while that was going on, my clients were gone, and then the financial advisor looked at me and says, well, what about you? And I go, what about me? And he goes, why don't you invest with me? And I go, I go, well, I invest in real estate. He goes, yeah, but this guy's like a really good salesperson, so he's like more pushy. He's not just taking no for an answer. And I go, I'll tell you what, how about you show me how much money you got, and if you got more money than me, then we could talk. And in that moment, he asked his assistant to leave the room. His assistant left the room, and he had a projector on the screen, and he opened up his laptop, showed me his stock portfolio, and this is some years back, but he had a lot of money, like deca millionaire. And and I'm like, oh shoot, and I'm like, okay, like how do we get started, and that was my first real introduction to a professional, the way that they did it, the way that they were able to help me get over my fear of investing, right? Because that's what it is. It was a fear all these years because I had a bad experience some time ago. And it was perfect because it was before COVID. I got in, I was able to make some money. Now I have over $1 million in the stock market. And the reason why I mentioned that is because if you look at these percentages that we just covered, right, year to date, percentages, even in a ugly economy, even in a ugly time, with the war going on and all these things, assets are still appreciating, things are still going up. And I was looking at my some of my accounts yesterday, year to date accounts. One of them says 23.2% positive. The other one, 49.79% positive. The other one, 13.47% positive. The other one, 10.8%. The other one, 14%. 28.48%. And the last one, 8.36%. So this is like stock accounts. If you take $1 million, easy numbers, and you add 8%, 28%, all these percentages, that's how you build wealth. The more money you got, the easier it is to grow your money. And I'm so glad that I met that professional the third time around, right? That was actually able to, be a great salesperson. and I'm grateful for him. And so I wanted to share that story because I want everyone to kind of consider like, hey, like what's stopping me from whatever it is? And it's probably something that happened some time ago. I talked to someone yesterday, a big real estate guy, owns a lot of real estate here in San Diego, a lot more than me. And we're sitting down and I go, hey, what else do you invest in besides real estate? And he's telling me about his real estate portfolio. And he says, that's it. And I go, what about stocks? He says, I don't believe in stocks. He says, one of my friends, he was about to retire and his 401k went from a 401k to a 101k during the Great Recession. And I go, oh. So again, his friend had a bad experience. He never invested because of that. But what I realized is even though I was buying real estate and I was putting all my money into real estate, I could have at the same time simultaneously put my money into the stock market instead of a savings account. Whenever I was ready to buy real estate, I could have borrowed against that that stock market account or liquidated that stock market account and then put my down payments like I was doing. So if I would have been doing that instead of just putting my money into savings accounts and then using that money for my down payments, I would have made way more money. Does that make sense? So I just wanted to open everyone's eyes up as to how it works. It's possible, and we have to really dig deep as to and ask ourselves the tough questions like why am I not putting away 20% of my income every single month and putting it into the S&P 500 forever? Why aren't I doing that? So I think we gotta ask ourselves that question. All right, so today's topic, we're talking about private money. And private money, also known as hard money, it's something that I first got introduced to back in 2005 when I first bought like a flip, right? When I first basically, I thought I was gonna buy a flip. I ended up assigning that property or wholesaling it, and I made a nice profit. And I spent it. I bought my mom like a $5,000 bracelet. Wasn't smart with that money.
It was a good investment on your relationship.
Yeah, good relationship investment. So anyhow, that was the first time I got introduced to the concept of borrowing hard money. The second time I actually went through with it, I bought a building, a commercial building, a church right here on Logan Avenue some years back. And I remember I was like, well, how am I going to buy this thing? It's commercial. And commercial, you need like a bigger down payment and, it's not like residential. And I reached out to a private money lender and I go, hey, I'm thinking about buying this church. And he says, I'll meet you at the church. Met me at the church. We walked around the building and he says, okay, well, what's your exit plan? And I go, well, my exit plan? I go, I don't have an exit plan. I'm just gonna, rent it out. I'm just gonna rent it out and I'm gonna have tenants in there. And he goes, so you're a realtor? I go, yeah, I'm a realtor. And he goes, well, how are you gonna pay me? Like, how are you gonna make the payments? I go, well, I sell houses. That's how I get paid. I make commissions. And he goes, okay, like how many houses do you sell? And I forgot how many I was selling back there, but let's say it was 40, 50. And then he goes, okay, so you're gonna pay me back? I go, yeah, I'm gonna pay you back, and he goes, okay. And I bought it. And it was that easy. It was like, I'm sure he ran my credit at some point, but I got the money within a week. He took me more than anything on my word, because if I would have defaulted on that church property, I mean, he would have kind of been in a tough position to sell it because there was no tenant, it was vacant, you know what I'm saying? Like it would have took way longer to sell that property than a normal house. A residential house is easy, There's some seats up here. If you guys want it, there's like 3 seats. So he took a chance on me as a person. Yes, he put a lien against the property, and yes, I put a 20% down to purchase that property, but it was very simple, very easy, private money. I mean, it was easy, slam dunk. And then I ended up buying that property, held it for some time, and then I traded it for a fourplex residential And I mean, on that property, I probably made close to $1 million, you know. So that's how I used private money to buy that property. And then throughout the years, I used private money a few other times, and I would drive. I remember on the first of every month, I would drive to these rich guys' house in La Jolla or in East County, and I would just have their interest payment check every single month on the first. That was like old school. I think that was, I don't know if they didn't have direct deposit or what's the deal, but anyhow. So today, I want to introduce our guest speaker, Rancho Ted. Welcome.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, I'll take a seat right there.
All right. Yeah, all right. My favorite thing, public speaking, right, Zach?
Hey, you got it.
He's telling me to take Toastmasters this morning. It's not going to help me right now, brother. So if you hear the ums, the ahs, the you knows, it's because I didn't take Toastmasters. Well, you know, I was listening to Voltaire talk about the church. One of my buddies did a loan back in the day, a company called La Jolla Loans. He gave a loan to this pastor at a church, and the guy stopped paying. So he told the pastor that he's going to the mass and he's going to pass out to everybody that the pastor stole the money and didn't. And I thought, that's a brilliant idea, man. Needless to say, the pastor started to pay and there was no problem. So there's ways of getting out of these deals. That was one of them. So anyways, you know, I've been doing this a long time and really enjoy it. And the beauty of private money, it's common sense. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit about investing in private money because it's a very safe way to do it if you know what you're doing. Even if you don't know what you're doing, it's still pretty safe. Now, in the last 20 years, I've probably had 3 bad loans. And it's a pretty good record. Pretty proud of that. And so if you ever do invest, I guess you may want to talk to me first and I can help you out, because I've had a guy recently who was doing a fix and flip, and he did it on his own with people who obviously didn't know. And he lent them $900,000 and it was a fraud, so he lost all the money. So be careful out there who you're dealing with and make sure it's professionals who can help you.
And just so everyone understands, there's 2 sides of private money. There's the lender, so that's the rich guy in La Jolla. I used to drive to his house on the first of every month and pay him his interest payments. So he lent the money to me through a broker, through someone like Rancho Ted, who set it all up, made sure that the lender in La Jolla was protected, and he received his, I think at that time I was paying like 12% or something like that. That he made sure he received 12% on his money that he lent to me. And then the second part of private money is borrowing it. Like what I did, I borrowed the money and I used it to make more money. And so those are the 2 sides that he's talking about.
Yeah. Has anybody been an investor in trustees? Yeah. So usually when I talk to people, out of 100, it's 1 person. So it's a good thing to know, because it's out there and you can make good money and it's safe. And what happens a lot is people who own a lot of real estate, they get tired of dealing with the renters, and they'd rather just go and work with me and lend it out, not have to deal with all the problems that come with being a landlord. So that's one of the nice things. So anyways, the good things about it, as far as being an investor, you get collateral. So it's not like a stock where it goes down to a penny and you hope you get your money. You know, I've got a friend of mine who's into blockchain and Bitcoin. I don't understand that stuff, but he's telling everybody he's going to be worth 100 million and just crazy stuff, man. And he's getting people to give him like $10,000 here and 25 there and 250 there, and I'm thinking, just be careful out there, man. It's just a lot of crazy people. Now, if it could happen, then I'm wrong. So I stay on his good side in case he's worth 100 million. And then as far as an investor goes, you get it, and if you want to borrow, the rates are in general between 10 and 14%, okay? As a fix and flipper, the money comes from a fund, okay? So I actually can get rates now at like 7.99%, okay? So that's incredible pricing for a fix and flip. But as an investor, you want no part of that stuff. You want the 10 to 12. As a borrower, you're like, hey man, can you get lower? And as an investor, you're like, man, Jesus, can you get any higher? You know, I'm battling it all the time, trying to keep everybody happy, and for the most part I do, but it's not easy. And as an investor, the downside is the borrower doesn't pay, right? So you have the hassle of not getting payments, foreclosures. I've had 3 bad loans, and let me tell you, it is torture. It takes about a year. I've had a Ponzi scheme. With a guy who went to jail for 12 years. That was a long year and a half of my life. The first foreclosures on TV, Channel 8, and they were chasing the guy down the road. I'm thinking, this is unbelievable. My first foreclosure, you know. The guy's name was Doherty. That's his first name. If you ever Google Doherty Ponzi scheme, probably he'll pop up. But so his scam was, he owned a cow ranch, horse, just a ranch. It was actually near my property in Alpine, and he, I don't know what he was telling the people, but we lent him money on a property at 50%, and then we lent him money on another property.
50% LTV, right?
Yeah,
Not interest rate,
right,
LTV.
Right, and when you do properties like that, so if you're ever gonna borrow, if you ever need money on something like that, you know, 50% is kind of the magic number, because it's 100 acres, all this stuff. And anyways, he had fooled some people into investing in the cows and other stuff, and he stole like $7 or $8 million. But anyways, yeah, we ended up getting all our money back because we had collateral, okay? And there was a lot of problems with the property, with permits and blah, 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 and it took forever, and it's a nightmare. So bottom line is, you don't want a bad loan, and that's the bottom line. So when you do private money, it's all about loan to value. So if you guys ever want to borrow money on fix and flips, we can go up to 95%, which is unbelievable. And then if you have experience, 90%, okay? That's pretty darn good too. And we give you 100% of the financing. You know, the rate can go as low as 7.99. Points are like 1.5, which ain't too bad.
So a real life example is if the property is worth $1 million and they're buying it for 700,000, you're able to give them up to 95% of that.
No, I'm just saying on this particular, I switch actually to fix and flip. So if the property's worth $1 million, we give you 900,000. And then we'll give you the money to fix it up.
The full money to fix it up.
Yep.
And then the flipper would sell it for 1.4 or whatever.
Yeah, I've got one right now actually in Escondido area. Yeah, they're buying it for 900, and they've got experience, good credit. So just know out there you can, just incredible deals on these fix and flips. Pricing's great, no prepays. Cost in general is pretty low. You don't really need a lot of experience. If you get 3 under your belt, now you're considered an expert, which, I'm sorry, man, but I don't think that's an expert. But these funds will lend to you. It's crazy. And, you know, we're experienced too. So when we do it, if you ever do it, we're going to make sure it's good too. So you can have a backup. We'll take care of you. Make sure you don't make a mistake. Sydney.
Can you explain the difference why a borrower would prefer a 7.99 interest rate, but an investor wants a 10?
Sure. Sure. Well, it's the money you make every month.
Repeat the question.
Oh, sorry. He was asking why an investor would want, you know, at 7.99, right? And then at 10%, right? You would, why would what an investor wouldn't want, these are funds, okay? So a person like yourself investing would want no part of that, all right? You want 10%, you get payments on your money every month, but these funds are so aggressive out there, and these fix and flip companies are so aggressive, they just drive the rate down. So as a borrower, obviously, right, it's 8% roughly. But as an investor, you want no part of that. It's just too low. And there are great deals out there at 10% to 11%. So does that help you answer that question?
Okay, I thought you were referring to like, if I'm going to you.
Right. Right.
I thought you were saying that you offer 7.99 or 10% is the reason why.
Yeah. Well, I'm kind of doing both here. I'm kind of talking about investing and also being a borrower. Yeah, that's all.
And I think also it depends on the deal, right? So if it's a little bit riskier, the interest rates, like you said, is gonna be 14%.
Yeah. I'll go over a deal right now. Got one in San Diego, I won't tell you where. The guy is about 2 weeks from foreclosure. He's got a first of roughly 1.7, and he's got 2 weeks to get 500, and the value is like $8 million. And the guy is late on his second mortgage all the time. So they put him in foreclosure. So we pulled it up and we just started working on it yesterday. And next thing you know, he's got a $140,000 American Express bill that's not being paid. He's got, I mean, it's a complete disaster, right? But there's equity in the property. And when you're at that low loan to value, we know that if we go to foreclosure, as an investor, you're going to be taken out at the auction. Somebody is going to buy that property. And so it's a safe loan, but you still scratch your head. Do you want the hassle of this guy? I mean, it's...
And just to give everybody like a 101 on how foreclosures work and lending money. So it's very simple. If there's a property that's worth $8 million and there's debt against it for, how much did you say?
2.4.
2.4 million. If the guy defaults on his loan at 2.4 million and it's a private investor that lent him the 2.4 million and he stops making them payments, then the private investor at 2.4 million basically hires an attorney, foreclosure company, and then they start issuing notices. The first notice is a notice of default that gives him 3 months in the state of California to catch up to those payments that he's behind on. And then after that notice is up, after 3 months, then the second notice that the attorney is going to give the property owner is a notice of trustee sale. That's a 21-day notice that's saying, hey, look, at 21 days from now, not only do you owe me the missed payments, but now you have to pay out the 2.4 million complete, plus attorney fees and plus other costs. So then at that point, like he mentioned, the property gets sold at the auction to the highest bidder. So if someone buys a property for $5 million, then the investor gets all their money back plus attorney fees, but then it's a hassle and it takes time to go through that process. And then the buyer at the auction gets the property for $5 million. Then he goes and evicts the tenant, and then now he puts it back on the market for $8 million or whatever. So that's kind of how the foreclosure process works if you're a private money investor loaning against the property.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah.
So, but when you do it second, you do get a higher interest rate, and the riskier it is, the higher you get. So on this one, I didn't know it was as bad as it was, and I'm always in the trying to keep everybody happy mode, and I was saying, oh, probably 12.99. And I don't think it's probably like 14.99. This is as bad as it gets. So as an investor, I mean, it's a pretty good return if you take the risk of the hassle that could come about. But because there's so much equity, there's no way that he's not going to get another loan behind this loan. So if he goes and starts tanking again, there'll be somebody behind me who'll say, I'll give him a loan. Now, I've got a deal that we just closed last year in La Jolla, and some of these investors are real aggressive, and they don't care if they take the property, okay? They're not afraid of it. So you have those type of investors. And this particular property was a construction loan in La Jolla that was $10 million. Supposedly the value when finished would be 25. There's no way I would give this guy a loan But there are investors that don't care. They're not afraid to take over the property and finish it and get the profit. So just know out there, if somebody's in trouble, there's equity in the property. There are lenders out there that will do this. Okay, so.
Yeah, I think I did a loan. I did a second loan. So the first time I did a private money loan to someone was in 2012. It was a person that I knew. He was in foreclosure on one of his investment properties. He had a first loan. So I put a second loan behind it. I let him borrow the money to get out of his, he had credit card debt and things like that.
Yeah.
And on that deal, I think for a second, it was, and by the way, the reason why I did it was because when you're a first lien holder, foreclosure works the same, the way I just told you, very simple. But when you're in second position, that means that I'm taking on a bigger risk, because if he starts making his first payment and that lender throws him into foreclosure, then to save my money, I have to dive into the deal and then basically make the first loan full current. So I have to pay for the first one to avoid me getting wiped out of foreclosure. And then as a second lien holder, I have to initiate the foreclosure to basically pay off the first and then get myself paid off. So if you're doing second liens, you have to be very knowledgeable in real estate and an expert, basically. That way it's worth it for you. So for me, back in 2012, it was worth it for me to get that loan because I was making a really good interest rate and I knew what I was doing. Plus, I trusted the borrower. So you also have, if you're doing private loans like that, you have to trust the borrower as well.
Yeah, it's well said on trusting the borrower, because fortunately for me, I'm in San Diego. Almost all my deals are in San Diego. And I know the realtors who are referring me the deal. So we're all in it together. So I got a good feeling if somebody gives me a deal that they feel good about the borrower, they're not going to give me somebody who's a psycho or anything like that. So that's probably why I rarely get a problem. And still staying with seconds. So you guys all have investors that have a lot of equity. How seconds work are, again, it's the common sense thing. So let's just say you get a value of like 1.3 million, and the current guy has a first of 300,000. Well, that's a relatively small first. So if it goes south, it won't be that much money to keep it current. And no problem lending another 300,000 or even 400,000 because you're at a good loan to value with it being at 1.3. You don't want to really go higher than 60% on a second, okay? But there are times where you have people who have like $1 million first and they want $100,000 second and the value is like 1.6. Well, last thing you want to do is give this person 100,000, go south, and now you're keeping $1 million first current, okay? On the one in Coronado, with the big one there I was telling you about, it's $1.7 million first with a small $500,000 second, but the value is $8 million. I mean, it's just so much equity. So you're going to come across a lot of deals out there where people have equity. Just think, hey man, you can get a second on this and make it work, and you can be the investor yourself. And you should get 12% at least on that, or 13%. So if you have money in the bank where you can keep the first current, but you kind of, a lot of times you know the people you're dealing with, right? And there's no chance they're gonna not pay you. You just know it. But people who don't know the people, they're scared, but you know them. So it'll help you with your decisions. And I do have a source for an equity line, okay? So keep that in mind. People are, some of your investors want to do flips. You can have an equity line. So it's a private money equity line. They'll go up to $5 million and they'll go up to 60% in second position. I mean, that is an incredible tool to do fix and flips or construction loans, you know. And I don't do a lot of them, I'm surprised, but it's a great tool. So keep that in mind for some of the deals you may have an investor for.
Is that for a standalone?
It's a first standalone and a second.
So a second standalone?
It's second and it's a first. You can use it for both, okay?
Can you explain what that means?
Well, what I think what he's talking about is you can be in first position with some of these equity lines. I don't know if they just want to be in second only, but it's a first position loan, and the rate's around 11%.
To clarify, meaning they already have an existing first, and maybe they're looking for a second to finish a project.
Right.
Maybe they're bootstrapping it, so standalone second by itself.
Right.
Eventually to be taken out in a full refi.
Eventually. But I'm saying use it as a tool. Don't even take it out. Just keep it.
All part of the exit.
Yeah. But anyways, it's a good way to help you make money with one of the investors who doesn't, don't want a straight up second.
Go ahead.
Oh, what you doing? Okay. Well, anyways, it's one of these things you could talk forever on private money. There's all these different situations. I do a class now at SDAR every other month. So this next one's in June 17th. So if you want to come check it out. But so as an investor, question there. You have to be actually a member of SDAR and a realtor. They won't let just the average person.
So if you want to go to his class coming up in June, you just go to, we're all SDAR members if you're a realtor with Lepe Tendwell.
Yeah.
So you just basically sign up online and then you show up to his class.
All right. So again, going on with, let's just talk about, I have another deal here that's not too far away from here, and you gotta scratch your head on some of the stuff that goes on. So, a lady calls me up and says, yeah, the property's worth $700 and there's only like $70,000 on it, and you need like $250 to fix it up. And I'm like, this is a no-brainer, I'll do it at 9.99, want to give them the best rate, and so it turns out the value is $600, and the property is really a junkyard, and there is stuff everywhere. I drove by it, I'm thinking, Jesus, and I didn't go inside, but Sydney did. And I don't know, Sydney, how bad it was. It was pretty bad in there, right? Yeah. Yeah. And you're like, oh my God, what do we do here? The bottom line is it's loan to value again. Yeah, 50%. There's no way you're going to take that property back. So just know if you get really bad properties, we'll still lend on it. Now the borrower, bad credit score. It's one thing after another. Everything's terrible about it, okay? But it's loan to value. At 50%, we will not take that property back. Now, part of the money is going to fix it up, new roof, and who knows, it's still in the works. But just keep in mind, you can have really, really bad properties. We'll still lend on it. And you scratch your head on some of this stuff. So the terms of the loan can vary up to 7 years, which is insane. I don't know if one has ever gone past 2 years, and sometimes 3 years, but 7 years. But you get people like, oh man, I need like a 30-year fix. We can psychologically help them with a 7-year loan. Okay, so we'll never keep it that long. But as an investor, right? If you do it, it's a pain in the butt if you do a short-term loan for like 6 months, but that's kind of the minimum we try to get, because once you get paid off, you want another one. But as borrowers or your investors, we have ways we can do loans with no prepays, 3 months minimum. We kind of work with everybody to make it work. But as an investor, we try to get you at least 6 months, and I've got one that's coming due, it's been a year, and they're all like, oh, please don't pay me off, So they're hoping the borrower doesn't pay off because they just want it to keep working, which is nice because you don't feel like going through another, underwriting of a property. And another way that money is lent, besides people like yourself who can be investors, there are funds all over the place. So private money lenders have funds, and it's a lot easier with a fund because you don't have to talk to the investor and say, hey, do you like this deal? They just lend the money, and they're lending your money, so they're in control of it. And it's good and bad because you're not in control.
but you don't have to deal with all the hassles of it. So there are funds out there. You'll have people saying, hey man, we want to invest in our fund. You know, I will say all in San Diego, I don't know a bad hard money lender, so I can't, you know, so they're all really good.
And just to specify what he means by that, there's two ways to invest into private money as an investor. Way number one is you call Ted and then you say, hey, I got $1 million. How much can I earn on it? And then Ted says, okay, I can lend it out for 9%, 10% on your money. Okay, cool. And then Ted goes and finds a property, you know, that building across the street, they need a loan because they're flipping the property or whatever. And then Ted just reaches back out to you and says, hey, your $1 million, we're going to secure it against this piece of real estate. It's worth $2 million or 1.6 or whatever. Are you cool with that? And then the investor with the money says, cool, I'm okay with that building. And I like it, and I like the value, and I like the borrower. I trust the borrower. Cool. I give the money to Ted as an investor. He lends it out to the person, and then I'm earning interest. That's one way, private money. Second way, private money, what he just said is a fund. So there's funds where they pool everyone's money together. They pool my $1 million, somebody else's $500,000, somebody else's $2 million, and they have a $30 million fund, a $50 million fund, and then this person that's running the fund lends it out to a bunch of different flippers and real estate investors, and the fund collectively has liens against all of these properties. So they never come to me, the investor, and say, hey, we're gonna lend, you know, Susie Joe a loan. They don't do that because they just make those decisions without your input, and then you make consistent income. So I've both invested as a private investor against specific properties, and I've also, and currently I'm an investor also in a fund where my money's in there, it's being lent out to people, and I'm just earning interest on it.
So, Susie Joe, right? Yeah, I never heard of that name before. So yeah, 2 ways to go. Now, a lot of people don't have $1 million in their pocket, so you may have $100,000. So I had a deal in Poway that is close to being paid off, and there are 5 or 6 investors in that. So you can't take 5 or 6 of you with 150,000 or 200 or whatever. Minimum is usually 100, and we pull it together, and then we give out a loan. That's, you know, because these loan amounts are all high now. There's nothing out there like 200,000 or 300,000. So I usually have to put a few people together, which is good and bad. If it's good because you're making money on your money. But if it's bad, then oh my God, you got like 3 or 4 other people to say, hey, do you want to foreclose? And you're like, no, I don't want to, and you want to. So you got to be a little careful who you invest with. And I always tell people, if you're going to do something like this, why don't you get your friends to do it with you, and together you guys can all work together. So anyway, so that's another way with smaller amounts how we get people's money out.
And we're rolling up on time. What questions do we have for Rancho Ted in regards to private money? Yeah, Frank.
Let's say you want to, right? You want to. What does it cost a person who hasn't done it yet before?
Right.
Because that's what's holding people back? Money. Money's
Right.
holding people
Yeah.
back. Knowledge is one thing, but I don't have money.
Right.
How do I start from there?
As an investor?
Investor, buy and hold.
So Frank's question is, how do you start as an investor to loan out money? Or how do I start as an investor to borrow money? So what's your answer there?
I mentioned your topic. Why don't we do it?
Yeah.
How do we do it?
But sure, means where do you get the money from, or?
Yeah, I mean, I want to do it, but
Yeah.
you know, how do I do it? What's our
Well, your
conversation?
parents. and it's very true, because I do have investors who have parents who have free and clear properties.
Okay.
And what they've done is, and they keep doing it every 6 months. It's working like clockwork. But the parents have a property worth $800,000 or $900,000 free and clear, and they're buying properties at $1 million, and I'm giving them 100% financing. They're not coming in with any money. And I guess that would answer that question right there, right? So 100%, they fix it up, And then they sell it and pay us off, and the parents are free and clear, then they go do it again. So they're using the parents' property, and let me tell you, it is a concern to me of people taking advantage of their parents. So I assure you, I've had that happen where I've seen a lot of snakes out there, man. Just so I vet it really well because I don't want anybody that would kill me if somebody lost their house.
Yeah, and what he's referencing is Frank's question, how do you get into investing? You could use other people's money, your parents. I bought a property like that. I think it was the fourth property I ever bought. It was right here in a few blocks from here in Logan. And I didn't have the money to buy it. So I leveraged two of my properties that I owned already. And I got private money against those two. They let me borrow the entire amount to buy my fourth property. It didn't cost me anything out of pocket. That's how it worked. So what he's saying is the same thing, except he's seen a lot of children use their parents' paid off properties to go and buy more properties to leverage them. And it's zero out of pocket.
Or friends.
Or friends.
That's what you would call cross-collateralization.
Yeah, so what I did with that fourth property is called cross-collateralization, and he could do several of those. So if you own several pieces of property, it's easier to buy more because you just cross-collateralize all those properties.
You know, I did a deal, the lady had just bought a property in Pacific Beach, and one came up in Little Italy, and she didn't have the money, but she owned like 3 other properties. So we crossed 4 properties to give her the money to buy that property in Little Italy. So you can use all this real estate. Let me tell you, it's a pain in the butt for us because there's a lot of stuff can go on, but we'll do it. Greedy bastards we are.
How is that different than that same client getting a HELOC on 3 or 4 different properties and pulling that equity out? Is it a time thing?
Yeah, it's a time thing, and here's a great example of private money. It takes a little while to get the equity line, but I had a deal 3 months ago. The guy owned a property, $1 million free and clear, and he was buying another property. He was short like $100,000, which is crazy. But he was trying to get the equity in to get the money, and he wasn't going to get it. The thing was supposed to close that Wednesday, and I get a call that Wednesday saying, "Hey man, can you help us, Ted, you know?" And on some deals, they're so stupidly easy, and if it's a purchase, all this stuff, say we can close them in 3 days, so we can step in and save the day, and they got the property, and the guy was just lazy, you know, and the realtor's freaking out, like, "Hey man, you know," the guy's like, "I'm not sure I really want it, but she's really worked hard, so I don't want to let her down." So he was like lackadaisical, and she's losing it, and we closed it for her, and now everybody's happy.
Could you just loan in San Diego or
Yeah.
just San Diego?
No, I do it all over the state.
All
Yeah,
over the state, but not out of state?
no, I'll do it all over the country when it comes to fix and flips. You know, one thing about out of the state is these loan amounts the purchase price is stupid low, 100,000. You know, we don't do that, but in the 300, we can get stuff done around the country. We do a lot in Florida, our fix and flips, and Texas and wherever.
What's most to go?
Lowest, as far as, that's a good question, I don't know. I just weigh it up, like who am I dealing with and all that, but I would say on a fix and flip around the country be, 200.
Do you do any construction?
Yeah, ground up construction, yeah. So I've had 3 bad loans. One of them was a construction loan. And that was, it's the old trust factor. It was a friend of mine who had this builder and they did it together, and it took 4 years to build 4 houses. It was the longest 4 years of my life. We had like 5, 6 investors in there, and I'm a dead man, everybody hated me. It was just pure hell. So I learned my lesson. I don't personally do the ground up, but I have all kinds of sources and experience to get those done. So yeah, it's not a problem getting them done. They're all different, and they are risky loans. I just closed one in Palm Springs, and And some of these developers, I don't know how they're still alive. You know, the stress they go under and put themselves under is crazy. I mean, they're going to lose it all, and if we don't step in and help them, they're done, you know. And again, this guy was done, and again, I had my sources where they don't care if they take the property back, you know. They gave him the money, it was expensive. But in the end, the guy made $1 million instead of losing it all, and it was, you know, yeah. So we will do ground up all day. They're all different and they are risky, but you really need a good borrower when you're doing this stuff. A bad borrower with no money in the bank, something goes wrong, it's over.
One more question. Yes.
Oh, what's the split on deals you broker versus deals you fund yourself, and what kind of determines?
A great question.
His question was, what's the split between the deals that he brokers out
Yeah.
and compared to deals that he takes on personally?
Right. So as time went on, you know, there were deals I was passing on because my investors didn't do it. And I have mastered the industry. I can get anything and everything done. So you talk owner occupied, I probably do 3 or 4 a month. I don't do them. I have a partner that does them. I'm a broker associate with him. Fix and flip, I probably do 50 million a year, just myself. So these people like, hey man, join my company. So I get incredible pricing. That's, you know, it's a win-win for everybody. And so I would say most of the stuff I do a broker out, but the ones I do are, sometimes I can get super low pricing. You know, I can do stuff, I've got investors, they say, hey man, you know, I need 9.5 or 9 on this to make it work, or there's a loan to value that's a little bit higher that nobody else will do, or sometimes it's, most of the loans I do are good, so I don't have a lot of push. But bottom line is that I do broker out a lot of it, yeah.
All right. Well, round of applause. Thank you, Rancho Ted. Appreciate it. Nice job.
Yeah, thanks.
All right, so we'll wrap it up with this, a couple announcements, and we have a Home Buying 101 class May 30th, 11 a.m. at our office. So if you're looking to buy a house or you know somebody, this is how you support your friends. And everyone here that owns a piece of real estate, it's probably done well for you over the years. You should be helping other people get in that same position because it changed your life, just like it changed my life. So you should definitely invite your friends, your family, get them on board. We have a class that we're going to teach them, the 101 on how to do that May 30th. And then the next Coffee and Cash is going to be June 10th. It's going to be at Friends of Friends in National City. So we're going back to Friends of Friends in National City, June 10th. Coffee and Cash. And then I'll wrap up with this. Whoever follows me on my Realtor Millionaire channel, you know, yesterday I left something in there that was, you know, I was thinking about it, and it was basically I shared the story how I grew up. You know, I grew up what people would consider poor, underprivileged, broke, and in a tough environment, right? And then now I'm in a position, luckily, of wealth and esteem, and society, you know, looks at me and says, wow, this person made it, right? So the truth that I found in both, growing up poor and broke, and then now in this position of wealth, the one common truth is that back then and now, I always hear 2 voices in my head. One voice is telling me, hey, go for it. You could do it. You're doing a great job. You know, buy that property, invest your money, good things will happen. And then the second voice says, don't do it. You know, don't make that phone call. Those people don't want to hear from you. What are you doing? You're going to lose all your money, right? And luckily for me, just kind of looking back yesterday, is like throughout my life, I kind of listened to the good voice. And I think we really have to analyze these things as we go through our life and our investment career and wonder, hey, how come I'm not invested? How come I'm not making moves? How come I'm not reaching out to people? And especially us in the salesperson industry, like that guy that sat me down and showed me his bank account. And at that point I was like, yes, you know, he really persuaded me to invest, and it really helped me a lot. And we could do the same for other people. We could be that person to someone else by inviting them to the 101 home buying workshop, by inviting them to something like this to open up their eyes and really encourage them. And I just want to encourage you all to listen to the good voice that's going to really make an impact and change your life in the future. Don't listen to the bad voice, which is ultimately, at the end of the day, the devil convincing you that things aren't going to work out for you. So that's how we'll wrap it up. We'll see each other at the next Coffee and Cash.
Texting you later. Somebody just
For the rest of
Hey.